And as you mentioned, and is in almost all the candidate statements every year, is communication. Everybody says they want to improve communication, but as a member in Michigan, I very rarely get information. I read the newspapers, I do watch the videos of tribal council, but I've emailed council members before, never ever get a response. Simple questions, even if you can't answer it, say, thank you for responding, or anything like that. So I would like to hear from you guys, and for people that especially talk about communication, how you actually plan to improve your communication with tribal members locally and across the U.S.
Go to Brenda first, and then we'll go to Brent. Kayleen, do you want an opportunity to speak to this too? Why don't we start with you, actually, if that's all right with everybody. Start with Kayleen, and then we'll go to Brenda and Brent. So can you pass the mic to Kayleen? She hasn't had an opportunity to speak.
Yeah, I agree with you. I have family members in California and across the nation. Even when I lived in Willamina and worked for the casino, I didn't get enough information like that. How to change that, I think, is to get more people, just word of mouth is basically a way of doing it, and also emailing, answering emails. I know tribal council is swamped with emails. Maybe even CCing their secretary or something, and she could get the question back, the answer back to you or something like that. Maybe designating the administrative assistants or whatever to, try to get answers out there. As far as trying to get, I think Facebook is going to help with that, to get more information out there, and the media in that way. And I think that's a good way to start. And but like the paper, we have to get the newspaper out there. It's that part of communication is really hard, and struggling to get all of our members the information. People, even our paper today, when they get the paper in, say where you live, stuff has already happened. You can't even make a plan to come out, or anything like that. But so I think with that, one of the ways that I would do it is Facebook. Encourage members to read the paper. To even around here, the communication sometimes doesn't even get out there. So that's awesome.
See, before we go to you, we're going to go to Brenda real quick. Can we pass this mic down to Brenda, Mark, and Brent? Or that mic's fine too. And then we'll go to Brent, and then we'll go to Steve, then we'll go to Denise. Okay. So,
I think that's a really good question. And being out at the summit for the last week and at the powwow now, I've had an opportunity to talk to a couple of tribal members who live back east and in Kansas, and they're saying the same thing. We don't ever hear the day-to-day. It's hard to vote. It's hard to know who to vote for. We depend on our family to tell us who to vote for. But what we really want is more day-to-day action. And so I explained to them, you can watch the meetings on the internet, you can read the newspaper and stuff. But what I think it is, and I keep harping on this, is they don't feel a part of the community. So they don't know how to reach out to us, or they don't even know what to do to try to become a part and become more interested. So we can send them the newspaper, but they're like, I don't feel connected in any way. Or you can tell them about it, but they don't understand. So I think that tribal council might need to look at a way that we can really start working on our members who are working with our members who live outside of Oregon, outside of the community, and getting them back in and connected. Someone earlier Steve was talking about he lives here in the community. He grew up in the community, and I'm thinking the whole time, that is great, Grand Ronde. This is community. But we have over 5,000 tribal members, and community is not just here. There's 63, going to be 64 tribal members who live in Michigan. So we need to broaden our thoughts about community, and we really need to start including everyone, so then they're more interested, and so they reach back this way. So it's not only us reaching out to them via internet, newspaper, and stuff like that, but them then being interested enough to reach out here.
Brett?
Great question. Great question, Ashley. I'll agree with your mom on that. Again, those of you that know me, if you know about me, know that my whole career has been based on communication and public relations, and that kind of is my expertise. So I'm actually really happy to see this question come up. It's one of my main issues. One of the things that I see is that we don't do that. And I think one of the things that happens is we don't see a lot of just common courtesy. That's something that, it's tough. This is a tough job. So I think people get caught up in doing the job, and so here's an example of what I can tell you, why I'm saying this. Recently the tribe did a big display, and they used a lot of my work, and no one ever told me anything about it. No one ever even gave me a courtesy call to say, hey, we're using your work in this huge display, and we're making a big deal out of it. And that kind of hurt my feelings a little bit, no big deal, but I made a phone call to one of the leadership, and they never called me back. Then an issue came out where they were trying to take my mom's food for some reason because she wasn't at home that day or something, so they were going to give it to, couldn't they do this or that? And it was like, okay, so I had to call a council member to say, hey, this issue's happening with my mom and her food. Council member never even called me back. Another issue came up where we had the Veterans Memorial. They added names to the Veterans Memorial. Well, I spent years of my life, years working on that Veterans Memorial to bring about that Veterans Memorial, and I thought maybe I would get an invitation to attend something. Nothing, not one word, not an extension of any courtesy whatsoever for those things that I've been involved with, and those things hurt my feelings. But at the same time, you realize you're one of 5,000 people, so you can't expect to be have that kind of courtesy all the time. But I can tell you that if I were able to achieve a position on council this year, I would extend that courtesy to everyone who reached out to me. I would return phone calls, I would make meetings, I would make my lunches, I wouldn't miss them and then say, oh, I'm sorry, I was busy, I forgot, or I would have it on my calendar. The idea that we're not communicating with people outside of Grand Round is a big deal. Nowadays, that can be taken care of. I'm setting up a blog for issues. So if anybody's interested in that, I have the information here where you can go, and I'll be talking about issues on that blog. I have a Facebook page set up just for myself and for the campaign. So I've been answering questions from that. I'm really good about email. I'm on my email all the time. Anyone who emails me, I'm on it. So I'll get back to people. I'm really good about phone calls. My phone's with me now all the time. I used to hate having a phone with me. I used to just hate it. Now I realize I have to have the phone with me, and I have to be reachable. But also there's Skype too. So why couldn't, as a council member, why couldn't you have Skype on your computer? And if somebody wanted to, talk to you and see you, tangibly see you, why couldn't they Skype you? So I think that those kind of things are all available to us, but I also think that we need to be a little more active in targeting communication to people. I mean, if you've been in communication at all as a profession, you know that it's really easy to isolate a group, say in Michigan, and have an event for them and invite them to it and set it up as a program. We could do that. If you have youth in Michigan, or you have people that need health care, or whatever the issues are, we could set those up so that you could individually target groups wherever they're at. I could see us doing a lot more of that.
Thanks, Brett. Let's go, Mark.
Okay, that's going to be something that everybody will have to deal with on their own. But if you want me to get on Facebook, no. Passwords cause me to freak out, so, I cannot do that. And so you can only do so much email, and after a while then I start getting email-itis, I can't sit in front of the great computer all the time. It kind of sours my attitude. But I do believe that the Tribal Council has, I do believe they could do things a whole lot differently. But for example, like everything now at the council meetings are done by resolution. Oftentimes, some of these motions that they adopt, the votes taken, without a real clear explanation on exactly what they're voting on. And so that's something that I just personally feel, and maybe that's not happening. But then I do suspect that it is somewhat. So if I'm going to be making a vote that is against like what the majority wants or something, I will explain why I'm rendering a vote the opposite. But then if there's a vote taken, that decision is final. You know, that's spelled out in the Constitution. So I have to live with it whether I like it or not. But if anybody ever asks me, well, why did you vote this way? I will gladly tell them. You know, either through a phone call or, you know, as long as I don't have to do a 3-page reply on email, I might even try that.
So that's why you respond to my friend request.
Thanks. Sorry, Steve and Denise, I skipped you guys. So let's go to Steve, you're up next, and then we'll go to Denise.
Well, I hear this communication thing quite a bit, and I certainly apologize for it, but like I said, from the inside now, having experience on the inside, like Ed and Mark and Jack, of course, know. She said, she referred to it as being flooded. That's an understatement, to say the least. Overwhelmed. Every morning, when you come into council, you're going to have a stack of papers on your desk this high. You're going to have 100 emails before noon. You're going to have phone calls. You're going to have meetings. You're going to have events. So we are all over the place. And I know that a lot of us apologize for not being able to get right back, because usually what happens is days will go by before you go, oh, geez, I got a message on my phone, because you've been all over the place, dealing with issues in Salem, dealing with issues in Washington, D.C., other tribes trying to come into our territory. All these issues that we're just bombarded with every day. So I understand that, you know, you wonder, why don't them council members, they're not there, and they're not doing this, they're not doing it. We are overwhelmed every day, all over the place. And we try to get back as best we can, and I'm sure that all of us would apologize for not doing it immediately. But I agree with Mark. I'm not a tech guy. I'm not. All that new stuff, I just as soon use one of them iPad things for a frisbee, really, to tell you the truth. And we have so many other things going, and on top of that, as much as you might not like to think about it, we do have a life also. We have families, we have kids, we have graduations, we have things with our grandkids. We do have that too. And I think sometimes people totally forget about that, and that we are, I guess, sitting at our desk, I don't know, playing solitaire on the computer or what, but that's not the case. So I certainly apologize if there is a communication disconnect, but that's the reason for a lot of it, is we are totally overwhelmed daily.
Just go to Denise, and then we're going to go to the last question from the audience, and then we'll have our closing statements.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of solutions to at least help with the communication to tribal members across the country and locally, and especially for people that aren't here on the day-to-day working at the tribe, because and I've asked this as my years of working at the tribe, like we get all employee emails, like people send out stuff like, you know, there's some camp thing going on for the kids, or there's some, you know, dinner at the, you know, community center for some different group, or there's, you know, class or whatever. And that stuff comes out all employee email. I've always wanted to know, why can't we have our tribal members send in why can't we have a database of our tribal members, and those same emails go out to our tribal members and not just the employees at the tribe? or the casino. It's the same thing at the casino, because there's a lot of just information about what's going on at the tribe that's not employee, just employee related, that is informational stuff for our membership. And I think it would be very simple for the IT or communications department to create that database of tribal members' email addresses, and it doesn't really cost much just to add them on when they're sending that all email out. Example of that came out just recently, this Veterans Summit and the powwow. I was at a meeting with all 9 tribes of Oregon, and I sent an email asking, does somebody have the agenda or some email that I can get the information to share with the 9 tribes of Oregon about our event that we're having out here? I did get one response from one council member, but they just referred me to the smoke signals department. And the problem I had with that was because I'd already looked on the website days before. Our big powwow is not even on our website calendar right now. So I don't know why there can't be, I'm putting some responsibility on our tribal government here to create that communication for our membership, because they work for us, right? Is that why we have a tribal government? It's because we have tribal members, right? And they're supposed to provide services and resources to our membership. So I think there needs to be an organized effort for all departments that work there, that there's somebody that all information goes to, and then that information gets all put on our website and gets put on our calendar, because I check just to see, hey, what's on the calendar? I wonder if this is on there. I went the other day, I was like so frustrated, because I'm like, well, none of these things that I know is coming up is even on our calendar. Why do we not utilize that? That's a very simple, low-cost tool, and we got plenty of staff working for us that can do that. And it's just a matter of somebody organizing that and making the effort, and it's not even that difficult of a project. It's pretty simple. And I think it's just, they need to know, they work for us, and those are the kinds of things that they need to know that they should be doing for us. So, and I use email, Facebook, everything. I don't always respond, but I'm always looking and I'm reading. And I take every few minutes. If I've got a downtime for 5 minutes, I'm checking my emails and I'm responding. Somebody called me the other day on the phone and I didn't respond right away because like so many other people calling me about an issue. And they couldn't figure out why I didn't call them back so soon, because they know I always respond back. So I will respond as quickly as I can.
Okay, good. Let's go to Ed first, Corey, and then we'll go to you.
Well, I kind of agree with Mark, Steve, on council, you've got limited time. And I'm not a text person. If you want to talk to me, call me. I always try to get back to the membership. And, you can come up with their ideas. We're good to get stuff out to the tribal membership. I'm not a text person. I just want to let you know that.
It's good. Good, Corey?
Just real short and quick. I was just going to say, it boils down to like customer service basically for the membership from the tribe. In each one of these departments, they have an obligation to treat people with respect and give them and educate them in a lot of these departments. And I think they're just falling a little short with educating the membership on what's going on in these departments and what events are happening in the future, in these departments and stuff. And, maybe it is email, maybe it is this or that, but the thing is the workload has to be distributed to where we can provide this service for the membership.
So we're going to go to Jack and then back to Keely. So Jack, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, like Steve said, you get so many emails. Sometimes it could be deleted off of your email list before you even get to it. Steve says he gets 100 before noon. It's like 250. You got relationships with people back east in federal government that you get a lot of correspondence from them. You got the tribal members, and you got local governments that are asking you for information all the time. So I apologize for if maybe I don't get back to you. But I do say, if I advertise my cell phone number, it's with me. The ringer may not be on all the time, but the vibrator And if you want to get a hold of me, that is probably the best way for you to get a hold of me, and I can answer your questions. You know, the council has explored and implemented many different ways of communication. You know, we Skype the meetings now, you know, we have a Facebook page, you know. We keep trying these things, you know, and I was assuming that we did have the department, what was coming up in the future, you know, a calendar for that was on the webpage. I was surprised the other day when I got the email from Denise that we didn't have the Veterans Summit and powwow on there, you know. So there is deficiencies, and I apologize for those, but as soon as they come to our attention, we try to make a correction on those, you know. I think we're light years ahead of where we used to be 10 years ago on communicating. You can watch the meetings, you can view all the resolutions on the internet, you know. So we've made good progress, but we're probably not where we need to be yet. But suggestions from the membership on how we communicate with you are very important to try to improve on what we got established so far. Can I just state that I'm going to be taking off because of the Veterans Powwow, and we've got a special event coming to the start of it. So
Yeah, we're trying to get out of here at 12:30, Jack. I don't know if you need to be there earlier than that.
yeah, I'm going to leave right now.
You got to leave now? Okay, so Jack's going to take off. Kayleen, we're going to go to you for one last comment on this question of communication. Steve, are you leaving as well?
I just want to ask that.
Okay. Go ahead, Kayleen.
So, one of the things I wanted to say about the communication thing with tribal council, I know a lot of our older generation is saying they don't do the Facebook and all that. 10 years ago, I couldn't get a hold of one of the tribal council members, and I told him it was my cousin, and I said, "You never returned my call, you know." And then he said, "Oh, I was busy, I couldn't," whatever the case was. So my thing was they have 2 administrative assistants in there, but that's not enough. I personally think that tribal council needs their own assistant for so many hours just to help check their emails, just to help get back to tribal members. They don't necessarily have to make the decision to answer DC or you know, a tribal council type question, but if it's just a question from our members that they can, you know, answer and stuff like that, that would be my suggestion, is each council member get or have 2 or 3 more people just to answer the emails in there, you know, weekly, because it is a problem, and I would hope that we could get that, you know, solved. So, but like they only have 2 people in there, and even when the past secretaries are not, because I'm an administrative assistant right now, and I know what it's like to help my caseworkers and help them make their job easier. So that's where I'm coming from. Even when I asked her, I said, I go, every year you get 3 new bosses, and she goes, it is really hard. And she was the only one besides the other secretary. So anyway, that would be one of my concerns, and to help get the word out there.
Thank you, Kayleen. Okay, so I'm going to do a quick time check. We've got about 38 minutes left, so we're going to get one quick question from the audience, and I'm going to limit it to only about 15 minutes so that everybody can get a 2-minute closing statement at the end. So I saw, Jolanda, you have a question?
I've been down working for the tribe for about 9 years now. A lot of what you say, I grew up in Portland, heard everything. And Portland, one thing I heard that this tribe was put back together, your main goal was self-sufficiency for your tribe. To me, that meant, in the definition, is training your people and putting your people to work so they can have a better life and so with their children. My question is, with the casino and whatever entities we have, we have really not focused on putting our people back to work. We've put outside people to work with good incomes, but not trained our people to take these positions. I want to know from each one of you, or those that answer, how do you plan to put our people and bring some of our people home and put them to work for this tribe?
Is everybody going to want to respond to this one? Does everyone want to respond to this? Okay. So I'm gonna keep it to 30. It's got to be quick, okay? So otherwise we're going to run out of closing time for the closing statement. So if everybody wants us to do that, let's go ahead and start with you, Mark. Just quickly, 30 seconds. How do you propose to employ more tribal members and build their capacity so they can be self-sufficient?
Me? Okay. Well, first of all, if I get elected, the only thing I can do is to start looking for other ways to get, either help tribal members get their own little enterprise going, or look for other enterprises to establish. I have no idea if the tribal council has been exploring any other avenues or not. But that would be one thing that I would be really interested in doing. So right now, I guess I'd be asking the very same question. First of all, they've eliminated several jobs, and so I can't. At least right now, I'm glad I'm not on the tribal council, because that would be pretty hard to defend and then just say, "Oh yeah, I want people to go to work. Let's eliminate more jobs." So that's always going to be a tough issue to deal with. But I will make an effort. That's the best I can come up with, folks.
Thanks, Mark. Let's start with that.
Okay, I raised my hand right away on this because this is my main thing. Other than the healing of our split families and things like that, this is the main thing that I think that I bring to the table. We have to put people to work, and we have unique opportunities as Indian people to do that. And again, I'm not trying to bash anyone, but I just don't think that we've thought of a lot of the things that we can do. So I'll just quickly share with you something that happened with me when I worked for the tribe before. When I was in public information, public affairs, we had a situation going where the Montreal Expos, the Major League Baseball team, wanted to move out of Montreal. And they were looking at different places that they could have moved. And I'm sort of a sports guy, well known, in that regard. I wrote the policy for the Oregonian in regards to Native Americans and how they're portrayed in their Oregonian paper. That was a big deal for me to get asked to do that. The reason that they did that is because they knew I was a sports guy. I was contacted by some folks up in the city of Portland. When Vera Katz was the mayor of Portland, she wanted the baseball team to come from Montreal and become the Portland Expos. And what she wanted was the tribe to be involved with this. They were willing to give us land in downtown Portland, not sell us land, give us land. We could have built a stadium, a downtown casino. They wanted a big 10-story casino with all the bells and whistles that would be a Pacific Rim attraction. They wanted a hotel to go with that and a parking structure to support the whole project. And they were going to give us the land. I used to wear this public information jacket with the tribal logo on the back and my name on the front. And I had people stopping me in the airport saying, "Brent, we've been reading about what you're doing. Bring us baseball." Okay? The jobs alone that we would have created, there's probably 5,000 jobs that would have been created immediately. And it's not like asking folks from Warm Springs to drive to Portland to go to work and then come home and raise a family. We can make it to Portland and back and still have a family life, right? So I think it's important that we look at these type of things. That's what I'm bringing to the table, is the ability that I've been out and I've worked with another tribe to do a NASCAR track. So those are the kind of things that I think that we can do, and those are the kind of things that we need to be looking at. We can create a lot of jobs, and then those jobs can be self-sustaining, good wage jobs that keep our people here.
Thanks, Brent. Kevin, go ahead.
That's a great question, Jamanda. I think the first thing that we always start with is that we have to have the spirit. And so when I say the spirit, I don't mean, the spirit has to come from the membership. It has to start with the membership to say, hey, what is going on with these jobs? The second thing is I hold a master's degree. And one of the things that I learned, going through graduate school was that data, on research is really key for these types of things. So as a tribal council member who's going to make these types of decisions, one of the things that I want to see is I want to say, hey, to our key staff is let's build up some of this data. Let's take a look at what is the employment rate at the casino. I hear numbers of saying, hey, it's this, or we have X amount of tribal members here, we have X amount of tribal members in the organization. I want to see the numbers. And I think that's really important. There's always to start with the research and say, okay, these are where the numbers start at. And then, of course, the sound policies and the sound procedures. We have to have a structure. Those are the structures in which drive our organization. And if they have to be written in such a way to make sure that we take account for as many tribal people that we possibly can. When I worked in 477, I did general assistance. There were some people that we knew for a fact that we weren't going to be able to get much more than 3 months worth of work. We were never going to be able to get 3 months worth of work. They were on disability. They needed to be put on disability. So I think it's important to come with those types of, with that type of knowledge to say, okay, this is the workforce that we need to get here. This is the workforce we can develop here. This is the workforce that we develop here. And I think it really starts with the spirit of the tribal membership, calling it out. I think the policies and procedures. Taro is going to be very key, and I'll end on this quick note here. Where this spirit comes from for me is I worked down on the Hoopa Valley Indian Reservation right after I left the Hatfield Fellowship. And I went there and I got a $40,000 a year job. This is a small reservation that's out in the middle of nowhere in Northern California. I got a $40,000 a year job. I got hired on over there. The first 2 days that I got there, I tell you what, there was at least 5 or 6 tribal members that came and pounded on my door. And they said, what are you doing here? This is a $40,000 a year job. And why isn't this job going to somebody that's from the Hoopa Valley? And why are we bringing it from somebody outside? Now that sounds kind of negative, but let me tell you something. I got the point really quick that I was fortunate to have a job. I made sure that I was going to serve those people to the best of my ability. So I think it starts with the membership and the spirit of the membership to stand up and say, hey, we need a job. And we need all our jobs.
Thanks, Kevin. Let's go to Brendan. Maybe we just grab this one, Brendan. It'd be easier, probably.
I have served on the education committee for about 5 years now, I think. I get a little mixed up whether it's 4 or 5 or 6 maybe. I know we have several tribal members who are highly educated. I think we have 4 JDs. I don't know how many PhDs we have. I have a brilliant daughter sitting right there that's going to have her PhD in March. She runs the Urban Indian Health Clinic in Detroit, but she really should be here. Our Health and Wellness Center Director position was just opened. And not only my daughter runs a health clinic, but I personally know of another tribal member who runs a health clinic in Washington. At the very least, we should have sent emails to those 2 highly qualified people and say, we have this position open, please come apply. And if they were anywhere close to the qualifications we were looking for, we should have hired them and then made sure they got the training. So I would like to see the Tribal Council work closely with the Education Department. If there's a position open, get a hold of the Education Department, say, who's got a degree in this area? Get their contact information, personally invite them to apply for the positions. We are paying all of this money to educate our tribal members, and they're working elsewhere, and they're brilliant. So I think we do need a listserv of tribal members, and we do need to be able to get a hold of them for jobs, for letting them know what's going on in the tribe, everything. I would love to have my daughter here close to home and working for our tribe.
Go ahead, please. We're just going to go straight down here.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I used to work at the casino, and I know people working down there, and they don't get hired because, say, they don't know the database program. Well, the program I was in, it took a week. All they had to do was sit down a week prior and show these people how to run the specifics in this database program. And you could have put tribal members to work. They're passing them by right now. I've been down there. I talk to people. To me, a job like that comes up and they've got the qualifications, train them for that database. 1 week, and I know It's simple. I didn't know when I went in. They helped me. And that's my issue with it. There's only a certain amount of jobs around here that we can fulfill, and the casino is the biggest part of it. But we need to train our people not only with their degrees, 4-year degrees, but trades, and get them out there and help them get jobs. That's the key to it. You know, there's a limited amount of jobs. I've worked my whole life out there. I did well, very self-sufficient. I think that's the key to get our people, get the jobs. So that's about it.
Thanks, Ed. Let's go to Court.
I too have worked at the casino, and I have seen some pretty ugly things. The truth of it is there's managers and people in positions that are very insecure in their positions. And unfortunately, they see a tribal member come in that has knowledge and experience, and they feel threatened. And then they do negative paperwork, and they get rid of them. And then there's one number of our tribal members not there. And this is the facts. This is what's really going on. Our own people condemning our people just out of, competition. And even if there's no competition there, just for them to protect themselves in their position. And it shouldn't be happening. It's a good example of why those numbers are down at the casino right now, is because of management doing things like that to their own people. I also feel we've had a lot of people come down there to the casino, and within our tribal government with the experience or the education, but then they get denied because they don't have the experience. Well, where are they going to get the experience? We should be helping them provide. We should provide and help them to gain that experience. We've already paid for their education. Let's get some return on that. And that's one of the number one reasons why we educate these people, so they do come back and help us out and work for us. And working with Denise in the mentorship program, I don't know why we don't have that thing going 100% right now, because that takes people, looks at their strengths, their weaknesses, and helps place them within the tribe using those strengths for the tribe, for the future. It's just a better way of business of helping our people and bringing us up to another level, our tribe to another level for the future. Thank you.
Well, I definitely have to agree with Corey on the mentorship program. That was a great program. We had a lot of success with it. It really was a very great way to look at people's strengths and put them in departments and work with those departments and get the training necessary. And I'm really sad that the tribal council opted to not have that program anymore. And that we opted also not to increase the amount of people that we had in that program. When that program went away, one of the things that I really tried to do was, because I realized that program cost tribal dollars, I really reached out to the state of Oregon, our local counties. I started sitting on boards with workforce, agencies, looking at what was going on out there in our state and how could I create jobs for, get my people here at the tribe in contact with those jobs. And that turned out great, because there was a lot of need for, people, small nonprofits getting the stimulus money, and all that language for their compliance all had a piece about the tribes, but no tribes were working with them. So when I come knocking on the door, I'm like, hey, you want to create a partnership? We need some people to work, and granted, that included other people in Oregon, but it also gave an open door to my tribal membership and other Native Americans. And that's what it is. It's about opening doors and connecting with other people. And so when tribal members would call me and they're like, hey, I'm living down here in Roseburg or whatever, what? I know this guy that works for a company down there, and, just making those connections. Or this is what's going on, and I know the state of Oregon's going to be funding this, or ODOT's going to be having this, and just knowing those connections, and always looking to how are you going to open the door for Indian people. And it's really, if you just think that way, you can get pretty darn creative. So, thank you.
Hi. To answer your question, one of the things I believe is it comes from the person's heart that they want to go to work and they want to work every day and do a job. I am so willing to be out there and helping people get jobs and to come back to Grand Round and build up this community. I have to agree with Brenda about emailing our tribal members the information that jobs are open in the area that they studied in education, and agree with Denise and Corey about we have to get the information out there to our tribal members. That's one of the ways I would work on it, is to send out, even when, because I work at the tribe and I get the emails of the new jobs that are open internally, which are for tribal members, I'd be willing to, on my off time, just sit there and send it out if anybody out there wanted that information. And when the paper comes out, my email and phone number will be there, so contact me.
Yeah, I think I did touch on this a little while ago, that, we have all the tools to help our tribal members go to work. We offer all kinds of different things. There has to be influence and motivation to get them to pick up that ball and run with it. They have all kinds of opportunities. They have to, like she just said, have the heart to want to work. We got to influence them to make that happen. To be self-sufficient, you're going to have to want to get from point A to point B. If you know what you want and where you want to go in life, then put the steps into motion to get yourself there. Because you can, but you have to get up and you have to make it happen. So we got to be influential to make this happen. I grew up here in Termination. There was nothing here, nothing. We didn't have a department to run to. We didn't have somebody to go talk to. We didn't have mentorship. We didn't have all these opportunities that we could go knock on the door and say, hey, help me do this or help me do that. If you wanted something, if you wanted to get from point A to point B, you went out and you made it happen. You made it happen. Not everybody else. You have to do it. And that's the part where we got to motivate and we got to make people or influence them to want to get from point A to point B. But they have to pick up that ball and they have to go. We can't do it for them every day. So that's where I stand on that. And we can be influential, and that's what we have to do, because they have to run with the ball.
Thank you, Steve. Okay, so we're into our last 20 minutes. So I'm going to start down here with Mark and just ask you to you can speak about anything you'd like to. You have a little bit more time, Mark, because you haven't had as much opportunity as everyone else. So if you'd like to have 3 minutes or so, that's fine. But anything you'd like to talk about, maybe your motivation or why you want to run for council again. Is there something, your vision of the tribe, anything along those lines that you would like to talk about?
Don't get me started.
You have 3 minutes. So.
Oh, no, the filibuster. No. I'm just here, and I'm just wanting to field questions from the audience. And so, if there's any quick question, I'll do my best to answer it.
Does anybody have a question for Mark for his closing argument that you guys would like to hear from Mark? Steve, you do?
Yeah, could I go from this end so I can go? I can get down to the powwow.
Sure, okay, so Steve wants to go first so he can get down to the powwow. I think we can respect that.
Okay, all right, thank you. Well, I want to say that, thanks for everybody for coming here, and I really admire all these people who are throwing their hat in, who want to run for council. I know Ed, Mark, they know what they're in for. These other people, they have no idea. And I'm sure after 2 weeks when they get there, they're going to go, what the heck was I thinking? But it's a great job to be able to help your people. And that's what it's about. I think everybody here has a good heart and they want to do the best that they can. They're going to be a target. They're going to be yelled at. They're going to be cussed at. And everything else that comes with that. But they are good-hearted people trying to do a good job and do the best that they can. And I'm very proud, and I admire each and every one of them. Thank you for coming, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, Steve. So we're going to go back down here to Mark and see if anybody in the audience has a question for Mark they'd like to ask him to respond or anything at all.
Going once.
Well, if not, I'll do it, Mark. Nobody in the audience does. So Mark, maybe with your time, can you address to me how you see tribal council as being different from the time you were our longtime chairman? I was a kid at the time, and I remember that, like Brent said, the meetings were much different. The sense of council was different. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Brian, that would require a filibuster. So the changes are enormous, and they are many. Some I do like, some I dislike. And so, but right now, sometimes I see the way that they draft their agendas and things that, no, come on, folks. I'm not running for Congress, I'm running for tribal council here. Let's see if we can simplify things somewhat. Look for a way to streamline the process. Looking at the agenda and you see things like consent calendar items. I don't see the necessity in that.
Okay. Streamline. Okay, Brent. Closing statement.
I don't know how you follow that. It's one of the reasons why we got things done back in those days. Okay, I get what Steve had to say before he left. I get that. But I'm excited about the opportunity. And I get that some people have been beat up by the process and aren't as excited about the process. But if you're a tribal member and you're looking at us as candidates, don't you want somebody that's excited about the process and wants the job? So I want the job. I'm ready, and I'm not beat up by the process. The main thing I want to do is, one of the main reasons I'm doing this is because there's a guy who used to be my neighbor, a tribal member. I don't think their family really supports me that much, but here's the thing. He's a big guy. He works at the casino, and he's a nice guy. And he was telling me about his family. He's telling me about his children. He's telling me about how his son is a tribal member, and his daughter isn't. His son is only 2 years older than his daughter, and he's going to go to college, and the daughter's not. And that disturbs me. That absolutely disturbs me. So yeah, there's this enrollment audit issue. I get that that's a big issue, but for me, I want to do some basic fundamental things like clean up that language. That has to be changed. This family should not be raising 2 children with one having benefits of being a tribal member and one not. I just think that that's wrong, and I think that if we want this job, if you're enthusiastic about this job, that should be one of the first things we should clean up. So that's one of the things that I would tackle right away. I want to bring about some economic development changes to our tribe that are unique to Indian country, that it's not bashing on current council to say that they just haven't done those yet. Maybe they haven't thought of them yet. Maybe that isn't their expertise. So I think there's some things out there that we can do. It's really important that I believe, heal our relationships with our sister tribes. We don't get along now with our tribes, and that wasn't the way it was before. Even though we were trying to make our way in Indian country, we still got along with other tribes. So I think we need to get back to that. I think that we need to, change the way that we deal with other tribes. I got a letter emailed to me from the chairman of the Siletz tribe, and it's about our tribe, and it was a letter that went out to all tribes. And it was a 4-page letter, and 1.5 pages of this letter was just ripping on the Grand Round tribe, saying that this tribe aligns themselves with non-Indian gaming groups, with other tribes. I mean, this tribe, we've attacked Warm Springs publicly. We've attacked our own governor. We recently had one of our tribes testify on behalf of our land bill, and then we turned around within an hour, and our leadership testified against that tribe after they testified for us. This just happened recently. So we got to change that. We can't have that. We used to be held up as a model tribal community, and that isn't the case anymore. So I'd like to see if I could bring about some of those changes.
Thank you. Kevin.
This is such a funny little world. Okay. The 2 old guard aren't here, but I tell you what, this is a funny little world, you know what I mean? And I'm very honored to learn a part about it. It's surprising because this world, when I say this world, I mean the political process, how we go about choosing leaders. It's a combination of some new stuff, but also some old school native politics that go on here on the reservation and off the reservation. It's taken me a little bit to get accustomed to. I think I'd love to be up here and tell you, how great I am and what I think I can do for the community. And, I have a million ideas. But really what counts is there are great people that are here that are willing to step forward. It's very difficult. Chris can attest to this. Jack and Steve talked about it. It's very difficult to step forward and say, hey, I want to be a leader, because essentially what you're doing is you're exposing yourself a little bit. Nobody likes to be disapproved. Even when you say something and you see somebody winch, it hurts. Okay? It's difficult. But with that said, is that in order for our community, we are a great nation and we have the potential to be a great nation. And in order for that to take place, we need to train up young people. We need young people here. I think there are a few people here who really are shining and who really did shine. And I think there are people here who may not have been contenders to be on tribal council. Maybe people will go away and say, man, I really like what they said, because I hear their spirit. But we need to train up our young people. We only have 32% of our voters. Of 3,000 tribal members, only 32% participate in tribal elections. And I know we're a tribal community, but it's very important that we get this electoral process going, that we get this young vote 18 to 25 going. We need to push it. That means only 17 to 1,800 people actually participate in our elections. That means there's 2,000 votes that are out there that people don't participate. What that says is that our people aren't included. I want to say thank you very much for being included here. It means you guys do. Everyone has said it, means you guys are involved. But if there's one thing that we can do, it's get our young people to vote. If you can get anything from here today, is go out and tell your young relatives, make sure you're registered to vote, and vote for whoever it is that's here. Get out there and vote so that we can train these young people up so that we can go on for the future. And they can learn about this funny little process that we're in. Hayamasa.
Thank you, Kevin.
I'm not really good at listing all of my accomplishments or everything I've done, but I'm going to list some off for you very humbly to let you know how much I love my tribe and how much I've been involved ever since we moved back 20 years ago after my husband retired from the military. I've served on the education committee. I've provided foster care for our youth. I've served on the color guard. I stood while my daughter was royalty for several years. I've voted every year. I really love this tribe, and I have a heart for it and the future of it. I'm very concerned about self-termination. I'm very concerned and worried, and I'm starting to think of stories that I'm going to have to tell my grandchildren about them not being enrolled in the tribe because of blood quantum issues. So when I thought again about running this year, I thought, what else can I do to serve the tribe? And I thought it was a natural step to run for tribal council. I want to participate, and I want to make those important decisions, and I want to be part of our future, a strong future for our tribe. I'm very concerned about our divided council, and that really is my number one priority, is to bring the council together and so we can make wise decisions for the future. As I mentioned, I'm worried about self-termination, and I also have a strong heart for tribal employment. Like I said earlier, I would love for my daughter to be back here. So I really think that we need to work on our tribal, employing our tribal members. I hope I've earned your support. I have a website, I have an email that's out there, so please email me with any questions, and I promise to answer you.
I think the main reason I'm running is I've looked over the last few years and I see the council constantly bickering and arguing. And when I was on council, I worked with other people, we did the same. We got things done. If you look at your facilities, they were done, and they were done quick, they were done on time, and within budgets. And we need to get back to that kind of council. One of my main issues is now we're in the endowment, now that we have the endowments, we're starting to get into the interest on that. You know, I don't agree with that. We set it up so it was it took 9 members that had to vote and had to vote, all had to vote the same. Well, I don't know how they got around it, but it now takes 5. You know, they got into the elders endowments. You know, I always hear, well, we can't fund them any more money because they have to pay taxes. Well, we got 5 smart lawyers up there. Let's have them figure out how to get money to these people. You know, it's a cop-out, frankly, and that's one of my main goals. The other goal is, you know, we're buying land back here at Grand Ronde, and that's fine. But let's look at our metropolitan areas where our people are at, you know, where we can build some kind of developments or work with some people to put these people to work, membership to work. You know, I've seen in the last 10 years, I think I only know of 2 developments that are bringing in revenue to the tribe. There could be more, I could be wrong. But, you know, we cannot rely on casino revenue. We don't do taxes, so all we got is casino revenue, basically, and what the federal government gives us. We've got to get past that. We've got to get things going, you know, in the metropolitan areas, and, you know, whether it's developments or whatever it is, but we've got to focus that way. That's about it. Vote for me, Eddie P.
That's a good one.
Well, I don't know if I can top that slogan.
Vote for me, Corey.
So anyway, you know, I'm running because I've seen so much with my business knowledge and experience of the past of what's been going on and stuff. I just think that there's a better way of doing things, and I know that there's a better way of doing things for the future. And you know, with these. You know, between the money and taking care of the people and everything, you know, it's a big balance to keep in line. And first and foremost, we need to help our people with their struggles through life. You know, and we need to protect the money for the people, for the future, so they have a future. And you know, I just, I want to reestablish, you know, more integrity into our infrastructure and reach out more to these businesses that the tribe has and make them more part of the tribe instead of just entities of the tribe. You know, take these managers and these people and educate them, you know, with culture and tradition and where we need to be. Raise those numbers up for jobs, for our membership. You know, that's how we help our people out, economic-wise, for the future. And I just, you know, I wish everybody the best of luck for our future. Whether I get nominated or what, it doesn't matter. The main thing is our membership, helping them, protect them. You know, protect our way of life for the future. Thank you.
Hi. I guess I've been doing this for a few years now, and I'm very passionate and feel I've been very passionate about doing this for a long time, and it's because I feel that I can bring something to the membership that and the tribal council and be a good leader. I've always been strong in my leadership skills, and I've always been pretty creative on how, looking at the big picture of things and how do we make things better and how do I, you know, make things better for my membership or some individual, but at the same time being very objective. There's a lot of being fair. Everything's about equality around here. You know, Corey's probably a good example of that. You know, when he was working down at Three Rivers, I was so proud of him. I went down there and did a newspaper article on him. I was really pumping him up. I was so proud of what he was doing. But then, you know, he knew when he was having issues at the casino, he knew because of my job. I'm hoping he knew. We didn't talk much about it because he knew my position there. And I had to, you know, I wanted to do more than anything is go out there on the work for him. But I knew my position on the commission, I really needed to stay out of it. And I'm hoping that he realized that and respected me for that. I think he did. We don't talk about it because I don't want to cross that line. You know, I have to remain objective in my position and respect that. You know, but Brenda talked a lot about qualifications, and Steve talked about people that haven't been on council don't know what they're getting into. Well, I have to beg to differ with that. I mean, I've been to DC with them, I've sat at the tables, I go to the OTGA meetings, I've met all the OAIDC meetings, I've met with the governor, I've sat at the table many times with the tribal council in all types of different situations. So it's not that people don't know what they're getting into necessarily. It's really how you think and how do you process that information. It's a lot of information. It's a lot of different types of decisions that have to be made. But it's all on people's thinking ability. And I think there's a lot of people that would make really good council people just because of their minds, the minds that they have. We can all gain the experience at some point in time. Some of us already have it, some of us don't. But I think it's about the way people think. And some people are going to be good leaders because they think in the right way and they can do great things. They can present information. We've had some great people on council, and their biggest weakness was not the way they presented information and nobody wanted to listen to them. If you really think about it, if you present the information the right way, then people are going to listen, and you're going to be a good leader. So anyhow, there's some buttons on the back if anybody like them. I hope I have your support this year. We've been plugging along, and let's make this year a victory, okay?
All right, Kayleen, last one. Last one.
Where do I start? I agree with all of them. First of all, thank you, Chris and Brian, for taking the time out to do this. And I haven't come every year. I think I came 1 year, 3, 4 years ago. But I think it's important. I think it's important for our tribal members out there to give the ideas and stuff that the candidates want to do for the tribe. My biggest thing is to again bring people here, make jobs for people. Also to get the biggest issues out there on the audit and all that with enrollment, to get that straightened out once and for all, if we can do that as a group, as a tribe, to benefit the whole tribe and not just the whole split family thing. I kind of agreed with Denise earlier about when kids turn 18 to 23 or 25, let them make that decision and have that time and not have to wait the 1 year it used to be or the 5 years it is now to get into our tribe because that was their parents' decision for them. I'm in that same situation with my daughter and my son. My son's enrolled, my daughter's not. She's enrolled in Hoopa. And so I would have loved to be able to give her that choice when she turned 18 to say, hey Mom, I want to be in your tribe or stay in Dad's tribe or whatever the case is. So that's one of my biggest issues. My biggest thing is to get that hopefully at a place where everybody's happy with it. So this is my first time running. Yes, I don't know what I'm getting myself into. I've heard a lot of things. I've been talking to a lot of people, and I just hope I have your support out there. I'm going to go for it and hopefully get voted in. Help me, help you. Thank you. Vote for Katie.
All right. Big round of applause for all the candidates. Thank you for being here. We're going to wrap up. They will all have a statement in the Silicon Wawa when it comes out, and hopefully you guys all have an email address. We're going to send you guys some questions directly once we get those emails in from the Wawa. It'd be great for you guys to respond to those because we'll then post them on our Facebook page so people can read what you guys said to other questions that we have. I invite folks to grab some water and some cookies and whatnot on the way out. If you're not a member of the PAC, just real quick, if you're a resident of Oregon, you have a free $50 credit that you use every year. If you can write a check to Maryland, you get that back on your taxes. The state has a $50 political action tax credit, and since we're a PAC, Political Action Committee, We get from every resident of Oregon, we can use that. It's a use or lose credit. So if you don't use it, you don't get it back on your taxes. So you only get the $50 if you give it to $50 to a PAC somewhere. So that's the way we pay for all this. We raise money. A couple weeks before the election, we'll decide on which 3 candidates we're going to support the PAC will endorse. What we do then is we help pay for a mailing. The mailings are very expensive. They're $1,200 to $1,600 per mailing. We usually give about $1,000 to help pay for that. So we can help a candidate's cost be deferred significantly for those large mailings. And what we do is we put it out so anybody who's a member who pays the $50 in a given year, they get to select who those 3 people are. We have usually about 40, 50 members that join every year, and they're the ones that help select which 3 should be selected. And it's been really competitive in years past. We've always had 5 or 6 people who've been really close to getting the endorsement, and then we then turn around and pay for a mailing. But those 50 people, that's $2,500. So that helps us raise the vast majority of the money to pay for this and to pay for the mailings. If there's nothing else, everybody, we'll let you all go and enjoy the powwow, and we will see you all on the campaign trail.